Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's live on ServiceNow session on process optimization. So just a quick safe harbor notice in case we do mention anything that's forward-looking. Please note that there might be some changes, so don't base any purchasing decisions on anything which we talk about in the future. In case you're not aware, this is part of a series of interactive events called Live on ServiceNow. So there, Mike will share a link on the chat where you can access further events for the future. Quick bit of housekeeping. So we've got time at the end for Q&A, but also please put your questions into the Q&A chat as well. And we'll see if we can get to those along the way, or we can answer them at the end. So this presentation is going to be recorded and it will be shared on the ServiceNow community. After the event, you may get a short survey, so we appreciate any feedback that you would like to give us so that we can improve future events. So quick intro to myself. My name is Alex Chung. I'm a product success manager here at ServiceNow. My role is to help customers successfully adopt our ITSM and DevOps products within the APJ region. So I've been with ServiceNow for almost 9 years, and I'm one of 200 or so master architects in the ecosystem. So I see we've got 5 participants with us today. I just want to get a bit of an idea on everyone's experience on process mining. So, whether you know what it is at all, whether you've seen it before, whether you've used it before, or maybe you are an expert. So just got a poll there. If everyone can just, I'll give you a couple of minutes just to respond. Okay, so it looks like 4 people responded out of the 6 that we have. And most of you don't know what process mining is. One of you has seen a demo. Okay, so hopefully we can explain to you a bit more about process mining today. And I will also be going through a bit of a demo as well. So in case you don't know, our product is currently named Process Optimization. And what it does is, its function is to do process mining. Now, there is some changes coming. So in Vancouver, I believe we will be renaming the product itself to process mining to get rid of some of the confusion that there might be about what process optimization actually is. So I believe that we'll be changing the name soon, but that doesn't really impact how the product works. So we'll definitely, the product is still going to be very much the same, so what you see today. So what is process mining? So with everything we do, there is a design and a design path in our mind on how something should work, right? So for example, if you're in the park, you'll see that there's designated areas for play. There's paths that are made for people to walk in, and it's been designed by a park planner on how they think the park should best be used. And it may be designed for things like efficiency, may be designed for things like completeness, and to give everyone the best possible experience. But in reality, it doesn't always happen that way, right? So you'll see here in this picture here, lots of people are taking shortcuts. They're not using the design path. And this is really the same thing in our business processes, right? So you'll often see that your business processes might have an optimal path, but in reality, not everything follows that optimal path. So the problem with that is analyzing and improving business processes today is a very manual process, and it can take on average about 12 weeks and costs upwards of $120,000. And there's still a high risk of error. So in today, some of the methods that you might employ is analyzing reports, which is a lot of manual work, holding workshops, which is time consuming because you have to get everybody in the room for hours or days. You might have to hire external consultants, so-called experts, which is also costly. And then after all that's done, you have to seek internal alignment on everything. And with all the time it takes to do all of that, your target has probably moved by the time you actually get agreement to do some optimization. So this is where ServiceNow's in-platform process mining solution comes into it. So currently called process optimization. It gives process analysts, business analysts, process owners, team managers, the ability to very quickly see how their processes are working within the tool. So with traditional analytics, things like performance analytics and reporting, these are the types of questions that get answered. It helps you answer things like, how many tickets did we work on? Which type of tickets? How long did it take to close those tickets? How did we perform against our target? Did we improve our cycle times, right? So those are the traditional, those are the answers that you get with traditional analytics. But what's under the iceberg there, there's a lot of other information that can be gained. And you can gain a lot of that information through process mining. So with process mining, you get more insight into where the process is actually stuck. Where do we have unnecessary rework? Are things going around in a loop? Where are we wasting time? What's the highest process variance? And so on. So quickly, how does this all work? So every record on the platform creates an audit trail. So we're typically talking about tasks, right? So things like incidents, problems, changes, any sort of tasks, they all leave an audit trail when they move through the system, when changes are made to the task. So the first thing that you need is you need to have auditing enabled on the table that you want to mine. So by default, most of those task tables have auditing turned on. So I think there are about 120 tables which already have auditing turned on. So you probably have what you really need to get started. What happens then is we have a mining engine which prepares an event pipeline for the relevant audit data handles for all the number crunching, basically. So we combine that with a growing number of findings which guide customers through the relevant insight through the process optimization workbench. So these are what I'm talking about there is these content packs. So within the content packs, we have sort of common patterns and things that we see within the processes. So there's various content packs for ITSM, there's some for HR, CSM, and so forth. So within those content packs, we have those common findings that we see within that process area. So those, in along with the mining engine, we we leverage the predictive intelligence infrastructure. So if you don't know what that is it's separate to your instance. So it's offloading the processing of the mining to these predictive intelligence servers so that it doesn't affect the performance of your system. So that's what basically happens. Things get packaged up, they get sent to the predictive intelligence server to do the mining, and the results come back to your instance. So it doesn't obviously send everything about the task. It only sends the things which you define in your project configuration. And we'll see a little bit more of that when we go into the demo. So the other thing is there are pre-built integrations with other parts of the platform, like performance analytics and benchmarks. So basically, if you're looking at a performance analytics graph, you can hit a button and it will mine the associated information with that performance analytics indicator. I might show you a bit of that later as well. And similarly with benchmarks, right? So if you're looking at a benchmark, you can jump onto process optimization and it'll show you the process visualization associated with that benchmark. From there, once you have done your analysis, you can also directly create a continual improvement initiative from within the process optimization workspace. All right, let's keep going. Just quickly check if there's any Q&A in the chat or...
No questions yet, Alex.
Okay, great. So before we jump into the demo, quick overview of the process, right? So optimizing a process within ServiceNow, we broke it down into 4 phases. So detect, analyze, improve, and monitor. So how do you detect anomalies? It's probably with a lot of capability that you have already today. So you may have SLA notifications, breaching SLAs. You might have performance analytics targets and thresholds, Spotlight, for example. So it's you're probably getting an idea of anomalies from your system today already. So what we then add to that with process optimization is you're then able to understand the process in more detail and find root cause. So this is where process optimization comes into it, right? So you get your process maps, you'll be able to run bottleneck analysis, root cause analysis, variation analysis, and it also automatically runs automation discovery. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then from there, as I said, you can create continual improvement initiatives, and you can use the other capabilities within the platform to help improve on those process areas. So for example, you might be point you to virtual agent or predictive intelligence, automation engine, RPA, or maybe it's just coaching, right? Maybe you find that there's a bottleneck with a team that needs coaching. So from then on, you can baseline and continually improve. With that, I'm going to jump into a demo. So let me try and get that up. So Mike, can you see my ServiceNow instance?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start here. So basically, I'm logged in as somebody who has a process optimization role. I come into this process optimization workspace, which is here. So the first screen you're presented with is process projects. So yeah, oops, didn't mean to do that. So the first screen you're presented with is process projects. So this is where you sort of define a scope around what you're analyzing. So this is one that we've previously defined. This one is for incidents. So what I might do is I might edit the project. So you can do it from here, or you can do it from here if you were to create a new project. And this is really, we're defining the parameters of the process or processes that we're trying to analyze, right? So in this case, I'm looking at incidents and problems. I haven't tied it to a goal, but I could tie it to a goal. Oops, that's not too great. And then I'm also you can also associate it with a KPI, so a performance analytics dashboard, right? So what are we trying to improve? This is down here is where we're defining which processes we're looking at. So we're looking at the incident table, right? There's a filter there. Active is false. So with process mining, it's generally best practice to only mine closed records, right? Because open records could still be changing. So I'm going to open this for a second. So within that incident definition, right, you can define your conditions to limit the things that you're going to mine. You also define activities and breakdown definitions. So what are the key things that you want to see in your process map? I want to see assignment group, state, cause by, problem ID. I want to break it down by business service, assignment group, contact type, so on and so on. So back. And then I've also got the child table there as well, right? So this is linked to problems. So we're also going to see the connections to problems within the process map. So from here, once all that's done, actually, I should also mention this. So process findings, like I said, with those content packs, we give you common findings that we have found within these processes. So things like multi-hop issues, bad intake quality, long close time. So these patterns or findings have been predefined in our content packs. So when you can associate that with your project. And you can modify these as well. So these are defined, and you can actually go in and change, what you might consider is a solution rejection, for example. So with that, once you've defined that, you can then generate the model. You can generate a quick sample model just to check that everything works. Or you can generate a full model, which will then give you your process map. Going back into the workspace. So this is one where I've pre-generated before. I'm waiting for that to load. So you'll see the parameters. You'll see the parameters along here of what it is that we mine. So we mine the incident table, 47,000 records in total, 6.6 thousand routes amongst those 47,000 records. Average duration time, 7 days, standard deviation, and so on and so forth. What you'll also see along the top here is, so summary and insights is the first tab. So this will give you, will surface up things like improvement opportunities. It will show the goals and KPIs you've tied it to. I don't know why it's taking this long to load. 1 second. I might just quickly try to open that again. So this is a demo instance, so it is quite slow. Okay, that's better. Yeah, so this is, when we were defining that project before, we tied it to a KPI. So this is the KPI that we tied it to, the incident, average time to resolve instance. What you'll also see down here is improvement opportunities. So these are the things that have matched those findings that we added to the project. Right, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a second. It also gives you a variation analysis. So basically, what were the routes that the tickets that we analyzed went through? So this is demo data, so it might look a bit weird, right? Created, problem attached. It usually starts with new, resolved, closed, but it's just that this is demo data, so some of this stuff was inserted. But you can start to see, the different ways that records are moving through, in this case, the incident process. All right, so I've got this sorted by highlights here. I could be sorting this by the most records. So set those. So most of the records, 2.2 thousand of the 47,000 are going across this path. And I can click this and it will open this up in the next tab in the analyst workbench, and it'll be filtered for these records. But we'll do that in a second. So the other thing it presents you right on the summary and insights page is the bottlenecks. So bottlenecks are really, state transitions where potentially there might be getting stuck. So at the moment, this is looking at overall transitions and unique occurrences. Let's say, for example, I could start going assignment group and total duration. Right, so this is telling me, there's 50 unique occurrences of support going to IT Support Americas, and on average, it took 4 weeks for that transition to happen. So, you can start looking at that and going, oh, hang on, is it sitting with support IT for too long here? And then you can start drilling down into those specific records and doing investigation into that. So like I said, I could click this and it'll jump into the analyst workbench with that filtered. So let's do that. Now we'll come back to improvement opportunities. So so this is, you're going to get value straight out of the bat. You're going to get insights straight out of the bat. So, these findings are already telling me, hey, I've already found, what's here? This is the first one, long idle time. How long before an agent started working after an assignment? There's a potential impact there of so many years. The average duration of those, there's 21,000 records, where the average duration was 5 days. And then from here, you can start leveraging some of the ITSM Pro capability, so the predictive intelligence stuff. So we can quickly see, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I don't want to jump into the analyst workbench yet. So from here, you can quickly do a cluster analysis and automated root cause as well. So these you have to run these when you want them done. These are ones that I've run already because it can take a little bit of time to do the cluster analysis. So if I can click that, it's loading. But basically what that is that's gonna use predictive intelligence, cluster those records and look for the biggest clusters. And then you're starting to be able to quickly see trends. I think that's twice. Okay, there we go. So, the concept here, it's found is issue. That's the biggest cluster. The next cluster is application access user, right? So it's doing unstructured, it's doing analysis of unstructured data. If you know what the cluster framework is, but if you don't, that's what it is. It's probably analyzing the short description, and it's coming up with, hey, there's 1,000 records where this is the theme or the concept, right? So quickly, what I'm seeing is, hey, we've got long idle times, but a lot of those, are related to application access, user access, PC's not working, HDMI ports. So this already starts to give me an indication that potentially I could be creating some self-service here, right? So then it doesn't have to wait to be assigned to someone, and we could be saving potentially, average of 5 days for each of those 1,000 records. Oops, I did it again. Oh, wasn't quite there yet. Yeah, so that's some insight that you're getting straight away. The other thing you can do is run some automated root cause. So, as I said, the instance is a bit slow, so it take a bit of time to load. And I've done the same thing again. Okay, sorry. Oops. Okay, root cause come up. Yeah, so the root cause analysis, again, it's looking for patterns, looking for trends, and it's telling me that 2,000 of records, 2,700 records were assigned initially to the service desk. Right, so there may or may not be some information that's useful here, right? Let's stop doing that. But I think the other two are probably more useful in this case, right? So it's telling me that, hey, this specific person had 900 cases that were initially sent to him, and it was 335 times more likely than any other to have a long idle time. So then you can start, thinking about, oh, is there a problem with how this person is doing his work or their work? Do we need to, put some coaching in place, put a coaching loop in place and see if we can improve his efficiency? So now what I'll do is I might jump into this one. So instance waiting caller info. So because I jumped in from there, it'll initially be filtered for those specific records. Yeah, so one filter has been applied. Instance awaiting caller info. As I said, if I jumped in from somewhere else, the filter would have been applied differently, but this is when I jumped into. So from here, you start to see breakdowns and variation analysis. So I can break this down by channels. So this is, initially when we defined the project, we defined what we were going to be able to break it down by. So this starts to come up here. So I could, for example, start looking at those that are just self-service, right? Which is probably, in a real context, is probably where I would start, because it's saying it's taking, there's 1,700 records here where it's taking 2 weeks and 4 days on average for self-service. That sounds like that is something I would want to investigate. So I could start doing that, apply the filter there, and then I'd just be seeing the process path just for those records, right? Now, the other thing you'll notice is this is currently showing there are 682 routes. This isn't showing all the routes. Right, so I can expand the connections here to show all the different routes. All right, and it's a bit too much to see everything. You're probably looking at the 80-20 rule and looking at, hey, 80% of the stuff is going to be, in 20% of the routes. In this case, 30%. I'm just going to clear this filter for a second. I'll just go through all of them, all the channels, that is. Okay. The other thing you see here is also, again, variation analysis, right? So if I just bring this up a bit, if I highlight over here, you can see down the bottom, you can see the route highlighted. You can see the transitions down the bottom. And again, you can use this to filter down. If I just wanted to see what these 4 particular records were doing, I could filter that. So that's about right. Still no questions? Nothing in the Q&A, Mike?
Nothing yet, Alex. Feel free to put any questions in the Q&A or the chat if you have any.
Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a bit. So you'll see on this process map, there you'll see, the activities and the states that we defined, and the lines represent the transitions between those activities and states. And within the line, you'll see 2 little boxes. What that is their metrics. So that represents 4,600 records traverse this path, and they typically did that straight away in 0 seconds. That's because it's the creation, the dummy creation. What we might look at here, for example, is awaiting caller info. So awaiting caller info, 1,800 records went to in progress, and typically it was about 2 days between that transaction. And you can change those metrics. So we're looking at unique occurrences. You could change that to total occurrences. We can change that to duration. I think let's bring that down again. Yeah, so you can change these global metrics, and that's going to show you that'll affect these boxes here, so that you can see quite quickly, what the things are to look at. Let's go back to average duration. Okay, I have one question in the Q&A. Is process optimization capable of analyzing which CIs in CMDB table has the most incidents/events raised? If so, what are the variation analysis available? Can we use it in the application of CI perspective? I'm going to say it's not really the purpose of process optimization. Process optimization, to tell you which CIs have the most events. It's more about your process as a whole and how things are traversing through your process. So, if you wanted to know which CIs had the most events, that would be a really easy report just to run. So I wouldn't use process optimization to find that information.
I think that info is available in some of the out-of-the-box reports and dashboards that I've seen. So yeah, you don't need PO to get that info.
Right. It's more about analyzing things like this, right? So we can see here this path here. It's gone from in progress to awaiting caller info. So a lot of stuff, 3,900 records from actually, I'll look here. This probably gives you better info. So occurrences, right? Total 4,600 records went along that path from in progress to awaiting caller info. 3,895 of those were unique, which means there was some which went more than one time, right? Multiple times. The max repetitions is 9. So there was one record, or there was some records where it went in progress to awaiting caller 9 times. So I can actually start delving down into the information on, or investigating that. So if I wanted to, so this is currently incident distribution by duration. I could do it by repetitions. I could go this 9. So that 9 repetitions, it tells me that one record went through 9 times. I can actually look at that one record. So this is the path that one record went through. This is the steps. Oops. You can see what happened there. In progress, awaiting caller, in progress, awaiting caller, in progress, awaiting caller. I can, even if I wanted to, go view the record. So that's how powerful this is. It didn't actually get down into the specific record within your whole process. So I won't do that. Let me go back to clear this chain. Oops, what have I done? Just going back to incidents. So this is all incidents. Incidents to awaiting caller info. Let's go back to here where we were. Yeah, so I was able to, drill down into what was the record that had the 9 repetitions. I can see most of the records out of that 4,000, 3,500, took about 1 day to get additional info from the customer, from the caller, which is, not so bad, right? So it can give you good indicators as well as bad indicators. If I wanted to, I could also show these records from here, do a root cause analysis from here, do some cluster analysis as well, right? So, maybe this is an indicator that, hey, for email issues, account access, SSO, we if there are potentially some, it is potentially self-service, there's already a catalog item or something, maybe we're not asking the right questions because we're having to go back 790 times to the customer to ask about this stuff, right? So then you start having that insight into being able to improve those processes, those catalog items. So if you do find something like that, one thing you can do is actually create a note. So this is one I created earlier. You can create a new note, tell somebody else to have a look at this, and then you can also attach a snapshot. Right, and so when they come in, they'll come to this specific map and be able to see what happens and what you're asking them to look at. As I said, if you do find an initiative, right, you do find an improvement, you can then go and create a continuous improvement initiative. I created one before, so you can do it straight from here, or you can link it to an existing initiative if that one already exists. If you have automation center, you can also start requesting automation. Right, so that's something separate that you can do. Put in a request, and then someone can come along with the platform capabilities and potentially automate some of that away as well. Okay, I'm now going to jump over to. So unless there were any other questions, I'm going to jump over to automation opportunities. So this is another tab that automatically gets run once you do a process mine or once you do the mining. So this is a capability that you don't need to have process optimization for. So you just need ITSM Pro, and it'll use predictive intelligence, uses the clustering capability to tell you. So basically, for those that don't know what this is, it's again based on the table that we've defined. It's done some analysis, predictive intelligence, machine learning, and it's matched that against a known taxonomy, an ITSM taxonomy, and it's telling you, what are the potential opportunities for you to potentially deflect or automate away. So, could I build a virtual agent conversation to help troubleshoot hardware, right? And that would potentially, help me get rid of 3,700 tickets. So this is something that's automatically run with process optimization. But if you don't have process optimization, you can actually still run this as well. And if you do run this, so if you came in it from this angle, you can also open the process map for this as well. So the products are tightly integrated. One thing I forgot to mention is, so once you've done that mining, you can actually save different versions. So, maybe you have some improvements that you make to this process, and then you run it again in a month's time to see if there's been any change. So what you can do is actually start to compare versions. So this is the version that we have. I'm going to compare it to a version that I had earlier, right? And then you can start to see the differences. Oops, it's just refreshing. All right, so that's what I wanted to show in the demo today. Unless there's any other questions, we'll switch back to the PowerPoint.
No other questions at this time, Alex?
So these are just some of the common findings and optimization opportunities that we have found with the product. So, some of these have been defined as patterns that you'll get when you run the process optimization. And these are other, and then some of them may be other things that you find as you go through your process. Now, these are some of the common things that we have found in our experience. I won't go through all of them, but at least they'll be there in the deck when you get them. So real live use case is, sorry, one second. A real live use case is ServiceNow. So ServiceNow ran process optimization on our IT support. And, we saved up to 141 days, right? So what we found in this particular transition here, 141 days, was that things were going to the wrong team. So it was going from it was going to the wrong team, and basically that team wasn't able to see the record, and therefore was just sitting there for 141 days. So that's where we were able to use process optimization to identify that and have the evidence to support that and quickly get that fixed. Okay, I've got a question. Can you share a link to this recording and previous recordings? Yeah. So this recording will be posted into the community forum. I believe we should have a link for you. If not, we'll get that to you.
Once the meeting is finished, I think it takes a couple of days for the recording to become available, and that will get sent out to all attendees.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so process optimization. So it isn't a free product. It is a licensed product, but customers can actually try it for free. So you can activate. You'll see the plugins down the bottom there. So process optimization, and then the ITSM process optimization content pack. So you can activate these plugins in a non-production instance without any licensing. That will be restricted to 4,000 records. So you can try some of this yourself and see the power for yourself. So you can do that today. You can go in and activate those and get that running. So from a production standpoint, a separate license is required before it can be activated on production. And then once you have that activated, you can mine the full table or the tables that are part of your entitlement. So, if you have ITSM, you can only mine the ITSM tables, and CSM tables if you have the CSM licensing, for example. All right, so second poll. So now that you've seen it, you understand a bit more about it, I'd like to see which process you're interested in mining if you had this. I've got 3 out of 5. Okay, let's do a couple more answers. Okay, I've ended there. Yes, so incident and change. So yes, those are the two most, I would say the two biggest areas that we see people using this for, and that we have content for as well, actually. So we have content packs. The content pack includes stuff for incidents and change, and those are the biggest areas where we think that improvements can be made. So good to see that lines up. Oh. All right, so if you want to learn more about process optimization, there's a free process optimization essentials course. So you can take that at Now Learning. I think Mike will actually paste some of these in the link, in the chat as well. So you've got the links handy for you. We also have the community forum for process optimization. So it's got the basic stuff for getting started, and any information that you need can be asked on the forum. There's an FAQ that's on the forum as well. If you want to find out more information, more detailed information about process mining, some of the frequently asked questions are there. And I know there is also a process optimization academy. So that overview and demo, that's available in the academy as well. And our product manager, Dan Grady, I believe he's responsible for process optimization, and he posts some really great stuff in the Process Optimization Academy. So Mike will post that in the link in the chat. Thank you, Mike. And we've got a few minutes left for any questions. I might actually allow everyone to talk as well. So if you want to come off mute and ask your question, feel free to do so. Thank you, Manchu.
Thanks for staying up late, Himanshu.
Yes, thank you. All the way from Toronto. Awesome. All right, so if we have no other questions, thank you very much for your time. So as you know, we have a number of offerings that can help you if you're looking at process optimization or any other capability that you're looking to roll out and need support for. You know, we've got training and certification. We've got expert services if you need someone to help you hands-on. And then we've also got our impact offerings where we've got success managers that can help you get the best out of your products. Thank you very much for your time. No other questions, we'll end the webinar, stop the recording, and hopefully we'll be able to send out a link to the materials and the recording soon after.